if you do something for someone, you just can't expect anything in return. Because it really bothered me for a long time if I would like help someone out or get someone to do something for someone, and then like later if I needed something, they weren't. That bothered me, but now I've accepted that I can't do things expecting people to like want to return the favor. You just can't. It's not going to stop me from doing nice things, but I can't get upset when it doesn't come around because that's just the way it is. Like you have to, yeah. So yeah.
Interesting.
I've realized that recently.
Welcome to Season 2 of the Amani Experience Podcast. In this podcast, you will experience wisdom, advice, and stories from creatives all over the world. Your host is the award-winning Amani Roberts, who is a DJ, music producer, professor, voracious book reader, and a skilled chef. On the show, we love to share the stories of creative professionals, especially people who have gone from the corporate life to the creative life. Once again, welcome to Season 2 of the Amani Experience Podcast.
Welcome to episode 71 of the Amani Experience Podcast. For today's episode, we have DJ Tina T with us. I really appreciate Tina taking time out of her busy schedule to meet up and do this interview. We've been trying since like late July, early August. Finally got it done. 3 of my favorite things about this interview is just how Tina described her experience meeting and working with DJ AM. I thought that was real impressive and also very moving because it was obvious how much of a big impression DJ AM made on Tina, so that was cool. Whenever we talk about Camp Spinoff, I just love our conversations. That's an amazing experience, both as a attendee and as a counselor, so I love when we talk about Camp Spinoff. And then when Tina talked about her experience as a foster parent, I thought that was quite admirable and very revealing. So pay attention to those conversations. I think you're really going to enjoy this episode. There was so much content that I think we're going to have to do a part 2 sometime, maybe during Camp Spinoff in 2019. So we'll see about that. If you want to reach me, you can email me, podcast@amaniexperience.com. I appreciate you listening. Remember to subscribe to the podcast, rate and review it on the platform that you listen on. And it's time to get to the show. Thank you very much for listening. Take care. Our guest today was born and raised in Seattle, Washington. After graduating from high school, she headed out to Washington State University. When she finished at Washington State University, she made her first impression in Los Angeles, becoming a finalist in the DJ battle hosted by the #1 hip-hop radio station, Power 106 FM, and the world-famous Big Boy in the Morning show. But it was her victory as LA Weekly's first ever DJ spinoff battle that our guest took home the gold. After moving to Vegas in 2006, our guest quickly gained recognition in some of the most high-profile clubs in the country. With over 21 years of dues paid, our guest has been able to seamlessly merge her underground hip-hop and turntablist background with the fast pace of mainstream pop and the forward movement of the EDM scene. Her versatility and open format style of mixing top 40, hip-hop, 80s rock, house, and electro has allowed her musical style to be defined simply by the audience she is playing for. This would explain why she has rocked crowds in some of the hottest nightclubs all over the world, including the Bahamas, Philippines, Canada, Singapore, and Mexico. She has toured all over the United States with such companies as Red Bull, DC Shoes, Reebok, Skullcandy, Starbucks, Activision, Teen Vogue, and the Do Action Sports. Our guest has held down residencies at some of the most famous Las Vegas club nights, including Privé, Tao, Voodoo, and Tao Beach, with headlining performances at Lavo, Pure, Rain, and Taboo. She also has DJ'd exclusive VIP private parties for the likes of Jessica Simpson, Rachel Roy, Rob Drydeck, Little John, and has shared the stage with artists such as Metallica, nice, Ozzy Osbourne, Ludacris, Run DMC, Billy Idol, Lady Gaga, Too Short, Black Eyed Peas, Sir Mix-a-Lot, will.i.am, DJ AM, and Steve Aoki. I would like to welcome Tina Turnbull to the Amani Experience Podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We are.
You took me down memory lane with that intro.
That's the whole point of reading the intro. That's the whole point. So we're excited to have you here. We have to give our guests a geographical check-in. So right now, we're at our friend DJ Michael Basic's house in LA. But where did you grow up?
I grew up in Seattle, Washington. Yeah, it was great. It doesn't rain all year like people think. We have a great summer, but then it was time to go to college, and I wanted to get as far away from home without paying out-of-state tuition. So I ended up at Washington State University. Go Cougs.
Yes, in Pullman. Nice. And then tell us, once you graduated from college, you came back down Southern California to
DJ, yeah. So in college, I was booking the entertainment, lectures, concerts, everything. We booked Cypress Hill.
Nice.
And it was DJ Muggs, who told me, if you really want to DJ, you need to be the little fish in a big pond. You need to graduate, move to LA, and he said, quote, and be the Gwen Stefani of DJing. In other words, he meant no one's going to remember the DJ with a ponytail. You need to stand out. You need to find your style, find your thing. And so that was his advice, and I took it. I packed up my Subaru Outback, which was half full with just my DJ equipment,
nice.
And drove to LA and slept on my friend's couch. Went on, to karaoke nights where I was bringing all my equipment and DJing in between acts at the local pub. Just it never felt, like a grueling thing because I was just enjoying the ride. So it was a very exciting time for me.
Yes, it sounds like it. So then once you spent some time in LA, then you moved a little bit further east to Vegas, correct?
Yes.
So you're in Vegas for a while, and then what was it like living in Vegas and DJing in Vegas? And tell us why you also decided to kind of spend some time in New York as well.
Vegas became the goal because at that time in LA, all of my DJ friends were starting to get these lock-in, these year-long residencies, and it just was like that became kind of the dream. And I would go. Actually, I went with DJ Steve Wonder to an audition that he did in Vegas, and after that audition, he killed it, got the job, and I was like, you know what? I need to make moves. I'm not going to wait for them to ask me to audition. I'm just going to move to Vegas and, make it happen. So I was really lucky. I sent out a newsletter like, hey, everybody, I'm moving to Vegas. And the music director at Tao, on my drive from LA to Vegas, said, come in and audition from 2 to 3 a.m.
Nice.
You literally just jump on prime time for 30 minutes and just do what you can do. He hired me on the spot and started playing Tao and then just started making my way around all the Vegas clubs.
All right. So Vegas, and then what inspired you to take a trip and try to live in New York for a little while?
Well, I love New York. I moved there for the first time right after Superstorm Sandy. The building I moved into was just getting power back, and I don't know, I just wanted to experience living in New York and, do that whole thing. And it was really, really fun, but it's also really expensive, and I just kind of felt like Vegas was I'm more of a West Coast girl. I realized I really enjoy my car. I have a classic car
yes.
that's in the garage. I have a dog. These are all things that are just much more difficult in New York. So as much as I love visiting and being in New York, my lifestyle of working on my car, having a garage and a dog is more suited to the West Coast.
Okay. So I want to go back, and I think you were maybe 15 or 16 years old when you first got a chance to see DJing and understand and kind of stumble upon it. Talk to us about that experience.
So I was 15, and I was tagging along with my sister because I didn't have my driver's license and I didn't have anything else to do. So she brings me to her friend's house, and I see a set of turntables and a crate of records. And I was like, at that point, now I realize they were probably smoking pot. They would ditch me for hours, and I'd have to just entertain myself. So I'm like, sweet, what's this? And he's like, here, I'll show you how to turn it on. Here's some records. You're good to go. We'll be back in a little bit. I'm like, okay. He's like, now whenever you come over here, you have something to do to keep you busy. And I'm like, yeah, and it did. And I just I'm like, hey, check this out. And I kept kind of finding new cool things. And then his cousin came over, who was the owner of the turntables, and he was just storing them there. And he was like, wow, cool, you should come to this DJ battle. And I went to watch him at the DJ battle, and it completely blew my mind. I had no idea what hip hop culture was. I had no idea that there was even a battle for DJs. Like, I knew nothing. So I was really lucky. After the battle, he introduced me to some DJs who happened to live down the street from my house, and they invited me to come practice. It was basically the most overstayed welcome of all time. Because then I ended up in their house. They had a basement with like 6 turntables, and they were all turntablists. So literally the only thing that happened was playing beats and scratching and doing like question answer with each other, preparing battle routines. And that's pretty much all I did until I went away to college.
Nice. And so you mentioned battle, so I want to ask you 2 questions. First, you learned how to scratch first before you learned how to mix.
Yes.
How has that helped your DJ career?
Definitely, I think, as many tools as you can have in your pocket help put, make you just that little extra flavor, or that extra skill. So for battling, it's nice to know that I can just pull some things out. And I'm not sure. Some people say, like, you should learn to mix first, and other people, everyone has different. I don't really know which is better. I learned to mix way later, like way later. I actually got to college, and I was in my dorm room where I had to put my turntables on 2 shelves, one above the other.
Oh, interesting.
And I was in there scratching, and this guy knocks on my door, and he's like, "Hey, I'm a DJ. I heard you scratching when I was walking down the hallway, and you're really good, but do you know how to mix?" And I'm like, "No, I don't." And he's like, "Well, we have this club on campus, like for DJs to just like have like an open mic, but with turntables." I'm like, "Okay, sweet. I just wanted to go do it, but I didn't know how to mix." So I get up in front of it. It wasn't a ton of people. There's people studying, whatever. And I start mixing, and it just train right. It was like record needle. Like everyone's looking up from their books, like, what's happening? Like, I was so embarrassed that it motivated me to learn how to mix. And the guy that invited me said, "I'm going to teach you how to mix, because you could, like battling's cool, but if you want to make some money, you're going to have to learn how to mix." So he would come to my dorm and help me, and I'd just practice. It was a whole new skill, so it was exciting.
Yeah, that's interesting. Interesting story. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for.
Yes, this is true. Tell us about your first DJ battle, the one in LA, Power 106, Big Boy in the Morning. Talk to us about that experience.
Well, it wasn't my first.
Okay.
It was my first in LA. I did a bunch of battles in Seattle,
okay.
And I always lost. I never entered a battle to win, ever, because it's just not, I wanted the experience. And when you're battling, for me, literally my hands are shaking. Like, to me, the experience of battling is just getting comfortable under that extreme type of pressure. You're not trying to make people dance. Everyone is just standing there staring at you. There's spotlights on you, and they're like, 3, 2, 1. You can practice for months in your bedroom. It still does not set you up for the kind of nerves that kick in, when you actually get on stage. So it was really just trying to iron out those nerves of battling. So when I got to LA, I heard a radio ad for this Mixer Idol thing, and I put together a mix and submitted it. And I got picked. And that was a trip, because then you're in this little room. I had never been on the radio before. So I think they have 2 million listeners or something crazy. And I just had to try and not think about that. I'm in a room by myself. And they're like, "All right, go." And I remember some of my friends were listening, and they're just like, "We were so nervous for you." Nice. Just thinking, "Oh my God, you're doing it." Yeah, it was great. I didn't win. I never really set out to. I just want the exposure and the experience.
So tell the listeners how that experience compares to when you were on VH1's Master of the Mix, and explain to them what that show was kind of about and your experience there.
I can't really compare the two. They're just 2 completely different beasts. Master of the Mix was, I was like, take a breath just thinking about it. But I did Master of the Mix, honestly, because I was starting a summer camp, as you know, I'm sure we'll talk about later. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. How much money would it take to run national ads? This is my opportunity to be on TV, talk about my camp, get exposure, and it's free. But then I learned very quickly when I got on set So I did an audition, got accepted, blah, blah, blah. There's a couple, you had to do like a video interview and then an in-person whatever. And we get to Miami. I actually feel like it was like the Hunger Games. There's like puppeteers somewhere above just like pulling strings to make people do what there's no scripts. I know people sometimes say like, oh, it's all scripted. Trust me, if there were scripts, we'd be the worst actors you've ever seen. Like, none of us know how to read scripts. Like, it would have been horrible. But they do definitely manipulate situations to try and get your reaction. And I'll never know if this is true, but I really feel like they did this on purpose. We get to Miami. The weather's beautiful. They put us all in a room that the air conditioning is like cranking, and we're freezing. So I'm going into this thinking there's like 30 of us. They start with like 30 DJs, right?
Wow. And
I'm like, they're not going to get me. I'm like calm, collected. They're not going to break me, right?
Right.
As soon as they put us in this air-conditioned room and they won't let us leave and we're freezing, I just slowly start like losing it. I'm like, it's cold in here. Can they turn off the air conditioning? And it just started escalating. The longer we had to sit in this room and no one was letting us know what was going on. I'm like, can I go outside and warm up? And they're like, no, you have to stay in here. And then they brought food in with no utensils. So now we're like eating with our bare hands like barbarians, and I'm shivering and I'm freezing and I'm like, can I swear?
Yes, you can swear.
I'm shivering and I'm like, fuck this. And they managed to just break me by being cold and hungry, and you know what I mean? And that was kind of like, I'm like, okay, this is what's going on here. And then there were just little things. Like one time they took all of our laptops, and any DJ out there knows that that's going to cause some anxiety when someone takes your laptop. They took all of our laptops. I don't know why. And then when they gave them all back, they couldn't find mine.
Oh.
So every other DJ gets to go and practice, and they can't find my laptop. And I'm just getting obviously upset because I'm thinking I can't do this battle. I can't practice right now. Everyone else is practicing. It's like things like that I feel like they tried to, but I'll never know if it's true.
Yes, we'll never know. And so how did the competition end up going for you?
It was super stressful. I think I have PTSD.
Okay, wow.
No, I mean, it definitely, reality TV is not for me. I think I would do it if it was charity or just something completely different. But like we were talking about the nerves of battling, that was that times 20. I've just never experienced that kind of nerves because they would just keep us in rooms and keep us uninformed. They timed us. We could only practice on actual turntables for like 10 minutes. 10 minutes.
That's a very short time period.
Yeah. I spent 3 months working on a battle routine. So then you think, okay, I've got all these records. I have my little routines from old battles that I can use. Now you can only play music off of this record label because that's what we've been cleared to use on television. So they gave us pretty much this really comprehensive list of songs under one label. I forget what the label was. I mean, it was a main one, so we still had a good amount of songs. But you couldn't just use whatever you wanted. In fact, it became actually a heated topic because if you heard another DJ like using something that you knew they weren't supposed to use, then you'd like tell on them.
Wow.
Or call them, be like, hey, you're not. So there was one time I was using like an awe sample to scratch, and someone walked by and was like, yeah, if you use that, I'm going to tell on you. I'm like,
Hunger
God
Games.
Damn it.
The Hunger Games.
So it was like, I think a lot of DJs that watched it at home probably were like, a lot of it was just whack, But the other thing that they did was take video editors who are not DJs and take a 5-minute set and edit it into 30 seconds. So can you imagine that? There's no way to make that sound great.
Yeah.
And they didn't know how to cut it together to even attempt to make it sound great. So, you put all this work into this 3-minute set that has a flow, and then you see it air on TV and it's chopped into 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And people are like, that's whack. I'm like, yeah, it is. I agree.
Blame the video editor.
No, I don't blame anyone. It's just, these are, it's TV. And I think a lot of people, there's things that are just behind the scenes things that I'm glad I can come on and talk about to give people, hey, you can only use these songs. You can only use equipment to practice for 10 minutes. And we're going to chop whatever you do down to 30 seconds.
Interesting.
And then we're going to judge you.
Yes. But still a worthwhile experience.
It was great. I got a ton of exposure. Oh, so I realized very quickly that this show is sponsored by an alcohol company, Smirnoff. So they will literally never air anything about me talking about working with youth, camp, nothing. But I did get the exposure for myself, which in turn was giving me a platform to promote my camp, which was the original goal.
Definitely.
And, I did a ton. It was kind of a trip, being at clubs and spending like an hour after my set taking pictures with people. I'm like, I don't know why they want. I guess just if you're on TV, people want a picture with you. But yeah, I mean, it was fun, and I don't know if I would do it again.
Okay.
But I definitely don't regret doing it.
Good.
And it was a good experience to just have under my belt.
So you've mentioned camp before. I love camp. Explain to the listeners what camp is and how you came up with the idea of creating camp.
So Camp Spinoff is a nonprofit sleepaway summer camp for teens ages 13 to 17 who are aspiring DJs or producers. And I wouldn't even limit it to just that, because we get dancers, we get musicians, singers, rappers, everything, and spoken word. It all kind of aligns under the same umbrella, and our common thing is just that we all are passionate about music, and music is a big part of our life. So we all know how that can cross over into many different things. A lot of kids who have come to camp, end up becoming sound engineers or event promoters or, just other things. So it's cool. I started it 9 years ago.
Yes.
Time flies.
It does.
And why did I start it? Well, I went to summer camp growing up as a kid, and I loved it. It was just my favorite thing. And then when you get to be an adult, it's like there's just nothing for us anymore,
No.
I was hanging out with someone that we were discussing this whole radio DJ thing. I don't know what it's called, but they basically take all the radio DJs, send them to like Jamaica, put on these concerts, rent scooters, get the guys prostitutes, whatever. They like spoil them. And I think that's their way around maybe payola. They just like spoil them so that they'll play their songs maybe. But someone was explaining that to me, and I was like, wow, that sounds so fun. But, like, it'd be so much cooler if it was, like, a summer camp. Like, where all the DJs are at summer camp. And then I thought, that's when the light bulb went off. And then I said, well, that'll just be a shit show of drunkenness and whatever. So maybe it's kids, and we're teaching them, and we can do something really positive for, like, the community. So then it was just like, all right, I need to think of a name. I need to go lock in the domain. It was really quick. Like, I knew this was happening. And on top of it, I had just had a meeting with my management at the time. They're like having a real sit down with me, like, if you want to really take your DJ career to that next level, you have to start producing. That's, and a lot of people still feel that way. That's what you have to do. Like, that's it. You need to get on that. And I'm like, you know what? I just don't think that's there's just one thing for everybody. I think we can all take our careers to different levels in different ways. It's not just like, hey, you all have to start producing. So I was like, I'm going to start a summer camp.
Boom.
And I just knew that was going to happen. And I devoted all my time that first year to making it happen. Unfortunately, we had one kid sign up the first year. And I was really frustrated, and people tried to convince me to, like, why don't you just move it into LA and we'll do, like, a weekend day camp at, And I'm like, no, it has to be a summer camp. It's a sleepaway camp. There's going to be camp counselors. We're going to do campfire and s'mores. It was really set. So luckily at the time, I had great sponsors as a DJ. I was working with Red Bull, Skull Candy, a lot of people. They all sponsored, and I took all the sponsorship money, and I went into, like, after-school programs, inner-city kids, boys and girls club, and I just gave everybody scholarships.
Nice.
With the money that I got from my sponsors. So the first year was like all 50 kids, all 49, and one kid that paid to come were on scholarships. And it was so cool because you just felt the energy of like, this is the best thing ever. It was really sad on the last day, like everyone was crying, because you got so many kids that just don't have a lot, and we were very, very swag heavy. Everyone went home with a DJ Hero control. Like, we gave them so much stuff. They all had gift bags, headphones. I mean, so, it was sad leaving because we just had such a great time, and we all kind of knew that we were going to walk away and leave that there. You can't continue something like that. It's a moment, you know. So that gave me the motivation to like, hey, now I've got photos. Like, yeah, no parents probably felt comfortable sending their kid to a camp that's never happened, being run by DJs that might, you know, who knows like what stereotype they're thinking of what we're like. And I had no video or proof or nothing. So I got it. But after that first year, I had everything, and I just kept building. My sponsors stuck around, and, you know, and now we're 9 years later, and we've had amazing guest DJs that come talk to the kids. We've had Mixmaster Mike, Spinderella, Z-Trip. It's been awesome. Scratch DJ Academy teaches them on turntables, and then they rotate into a class where they're learning controllers and how to put together sets, and then they rotate into a production class where they learn how to make their own beats in Ableton. So we kind of teach them all elements, and then they learn about music business, and, you know, camp's just a great time to just explore everything. You put your guard down, and I feel like I'm able to make the biggest impact in that kind of environment.
Definitely. So I've been volunteering there for maybe 4 or 5 years now. It's amazing.
And thank you for that.
Of course. I have to do it. And it's
you don't
the highlight.
Have to.
It's the highlight of my year.
Okay.
You know, it's the highlight of my year. Every year. I love it. This year was 6 days, 5 nights. It was hot, and it was still amazing. And so I just think it's important that you share that, because it's always good to give back. I admire why the campus started and how you keep it running. So I'm just happy to be a part of it, and thank you.
One involved is a volunteer. And I knew it's a big ask to ask a professional DJ to take 5 days out and to sleep in a bunk bed with 8 teenagers. It's a big ask. And so I really am just so grateful that all my DJ friends were supportive and just jumped in like, yes, let's do it, and have continued to. I think that's the best feeling, is just everyone having my back.
Yeah.
And getting behind it. Because in the beginning, it didn't always feel that way, but I just kind of stuck with the vision, and yeah, it's good.
Good. We got your back. We're looking forward to the 10th year, this upcoming 2019. I'll leave the links on the show notes for registration and all that, but we're excited. Now, how would you summarize yourself where you are right now in 30 seconds or less?
Right now, I think I'm in a spot where I really want to focus on giving back. I'm still touring and traveling and DJing, loving corporate world for events, and also just trying to not be a workaholic. I'm trying to focus a little bit more on my like self-improvement, self-healing, all of that.
Self-care. What are you doing?
Self-care, yes. That's a priority right now.
And what are you doing to kind of improve that?
Reading books and being more aware. Like right now I'm specifically trying to tackle fear, because I feel like I'm operating mostly out of fear. It's just kind of survival mode you get into, you know? Like, honestly, I think if nobody lived with fear, so many companies would go out of business.
Interesting.
I mean, like every insurance company gone, under eye cream for women, Botox, diets. Like if people really had no fear, I say at least half of these things would get. I just can't stand people selling on fear.
I see. False expectations appearing real. Fear.
Yes.
Interesting. We're going to get back to fear in a moment. But for now, based on like where you are in your career, your life, what's important for creative professionals such as yourself and myself to succeed in today's business environment?
I think what's important to succeed in today's environment is, well, you have to definitely just keep up with the times. So social media, I hated Snapchat for a long time, didn't understand it. But if you want to be successful in today's, you have to keep up with the times, technology, everything.
Nice. And then I know one of your themes or mottos is like more skills, less skin. Tell us why that...
Or less skin, more skill.
Okay. Tell us why that resonates with you.
It's a funny story about that. I was at breakfast in Vegas with DJ Graham Funk.
Oh, yes.
He said, hey, I might have a gig for you. Like, I got this inquiry about a gig for a female DJ. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. He's like, but here's the thing. He didn't quite know how to, like, say this to me. He's like, it's one of those, like, basically he said, I need less skill, more skin. And I was like, oh, like it's one of those. Like, you want me to go DJ in a bikini or whatever? So then the light bulb went off. And I'm like, less skin, more skill. I'm like, no, I don't want that gig. And I'm going to like just charge on with this, that fits me. That fits kind of like what I'm about, is just, I want to kind of influence teenage girls to not feel like their value is based on their looks, on their body, on like, I feel like a lot of these role models, in quotes, what we have today are just teaching young girls that if you're not beautiful and if you're not looking good, you're not going to be successful. And I think instead of focusing on all the new eye creams and lotions and hair products, we should be focusing on these girls going to school and like gaining real skills, which I just don't really see enough of that. So I want to just, be a part, not be a part of the problem.
Good. And I know that outside of camp, you do other things to mentor young women. Give us an example or share some stories about your time mentoring young women. I spent a year as a foster parent, actually. There we go.
I got licensed. Yeah, I had to take 3 months of parenting classes. It originally didn't start off of like, I want to mentor girls. It wasn't like that at all, actually. It was really just, it sounds bad, but I started out fostering a dog. And I spent 8 months with this dog, and like, no one wanted to adopt this dog, but he was awesome. And eventually I found him a home, and then I was like, I kind of just looked back and be like, dang, I spent a lot of time and effort training the dog and like getting him a home, and it felt really good, and he was in a great home. And I'm like, I feel like if I'm able to do that, maybe I should step it up and like move up to humans.
That's a major decision. Wow.
But
okay.
And I was like, I love animals, but I do prioritize human life. So if I'm going to be like doing this whole foster thing and doing this, then I should just go big. And on my bucket list was being a parent. That doesn't mean me having kids. I just want to experience being a parent. And I don't know how long I have in this world. I could be gone tomorrow, next week. So I don't know when I'm going to meet the right person and have kids and all that. Well, there's this loophole to that. Right?
Yes.
I found the loophole.
You did.
Let me just fill everyone in. If you haven't found the right man, if you want to have kids or whatever, just be a foster parent. It's great. So and it also kind of in my mind was a challenge, and I like challenges. And at the time, I had long dreadlocks, and I thought, dang, there's no way the city, the government, is going to give a single DJ with dreads a kid. Like, I just, but my friend was like, actually, you're the perfect candidate because you're doing it for the right reasons, and like, you'll be so amazing. So I'm like, okay, charging forward. 3 months of parenting classes, fingerprinting, background checks, home inspections. 8 months later, got my license.
Right.
Got a call from placement. Hey, we got this awesome 9-year-old girl. Do you want to come down and meet her? Sure. And that I took my first placement, and I had 4 girls, not at the same time, one at a time, all different lengths of time. I had a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 9-year-old, and then a 17-year-old.
Ooh.
Originally, I said no teenagers.
Right.
But it was kind of like fate, because I actually realized then that, I spent 6 months with teenagers. She aged out and moved out, and we're still friends. We hang out. But I realized I think I'm really great with teenage girls. So now I'm actually, 2 years went by. I went overseas for a year. After the 4 kids, I spent a year, I was like, I'm going to be selfish again. I never had to give up on a kid. They all went back to the places. I never quit on anyone. So I was like, okay, here's my window. I'm going to take it. I'm going to leave the country for a year, get back, be selfish a little bit. Did that. Now that I'm back, I'm actually starting the process to reopen my license.
All right.
And we were in the class, and it's funny. She's like, is anybody, because teenagers have the hardest time. Nobody wants they all want them cute little blonde-haired, blue-eyed, whatever. That's not the reality of foster care. So the teenagers end up, sitting in institutionalized living for years. And it's just sucks. But she said, is anyone here going to be fostering teenagers? I'm like, no one. And I'm like, me. I'm like, oh, I felt so hardcore. I'm like, yeah, I got this.
Well, you do. You've done it before.
Honestly, the first time I did it, now I'm going to be much more vocal about it because I want to like try and inspire other people to do it. The first time I did it very privately. I didn't talk about it. And the whole reason why was because I didn't know if I would succeed. One, I didn't know if I'd follow through with it. And two, I didn't know if I would like get a kid and be like, I can't do that. You know, the last thing I want to do is put something out there and then have to like quit. So after I successfully got through a year and like 4 kids later, I'm like, dang, I'm really good at this. And so now I'm going in again, confident. And I just really want to inspire other people to just be like, hey, if I can do this, you can definitely do this. Because I was still DJing, I was still traveling, I was alone, you know, single. And it's hard, but you can do it.
What were maybe 1 or 2 of the most valuable lessons you learned from your foster parent experience? I mean, I had to go to a ton. All the kids had, you know, multiple therapy and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I was sitting through like probably 10 hours of therapy a week. And all the other foster parents are like, why? You know, you can just drop them off. Like, no, I want to sit in and I want to learn. And I learned how to have like a family meeting and how to throw to the ball and like how to communicate and just how to discipline in the right way. Because I think most parents never have to learn how to be a parent. I had to go through like a lengthy, you know, class. So I learned some solid ways to discipline without, you're not allowed to like spank or anything like that. Right. You're not even allowed to like make them do push-ups. You can't put a bar of soap in their mouth. So I think a lot of the things that maybe parents are comfortable using, you can't, and you're forced to use these other methods that, you know, I learned a lot. Teenagers, so the younger ones, 9, 10 is perfect. They just want to make you happy. You just had fun. And the teenager, it was like a game of who can out-manipulate the other. Mm-hmm. Oh, here's what I learned. I learned that you can get on the high school website, log in, and see all of your kids' assignments in real time. As soon as she leaves her class, the teacher puts in, by the time she got home, I'm like, you didn't finish this, I need you to email that teacher. But I had to learn that like 3 months later. For the first 3 months, I'm like, sweet, no homework? Okay, get on the internet, watch YouTube, whatever. For 3 months, I believed that she had no homework. And then I realized she was failing all her classes, so then it was like, I learned how to use parental controls on the computer. The only website she could go to was her school website. Okay, wow. Yeah, I learned that technology is a blessing for disciplining kids. They'll do anything to get that iPad back, to get, you know. So, yeah, I mean, I mostly just used that. Like, one day the internet went out in the house, and she was, like, freaking out. And I learned, if you don't finish, I'm not going to fix it. I'm not even going to call the cable company. I'm not going to fix it until you get your grades up. I can do without it. Sort of, but yes.
I mean, when she was at school, I'd just turn it back on. I can just turn the router off. You know what I mean? So those are the little things I learned. I learned how to cook a lot of stuff. You know, I learned how to be a single mom, basically. Yeah. And I still don't know how single moms do it. I'm very lucky. I have a flexible job. I can be home during the day. Moms that are dropping their kids off, working all day, picking their kids up, cooking dinner, I just have the utmost, and dads. Any single parent, I have so much respect for. It's like, it blows my mind that people are doing that, and I give them a lot of credit.
Okay. Very impressive that you did that, number one, and that you're getting ready to do it again, number two. So props to you. When you're thinking of your career, what would you say was the turning point so far?
As in?
However you interpret it. Like, when was it like that you're like, this is, either it could be a turning point, or like, when did you realize you're all in and this is what you're going to do, and like, it's off and running?
That would be in college. I went to college for marketing, so I'm doing my dumb marketing classes, which are completely irrelevant now, because back then we didn't have social media, so throw all that out the window. And someone came and told me, hey, there's this music marketing class. You should check it out. I'm like, okay, so I signed up for this class, And the class changed my life. Like, I learned, the teacher was Horace Young, amazing guy, and we learned how to put together a press kit, bio. By the end of the semester, we had to have a full press kit. I didn't know what any of that stuff was, and I didn't realize that I could market myself as a DJ. So that just once I learned that, it was like I was a beast, you know. I just started really applying everything I was learning in my marketing classes to, you know, instead of I'm the product and I'm my own self-contained business. I need marketing, advertising, you know, it's just, you're really like your own self-contained business. And so, yeah, it changed my whole mindset, which then changed my path. And, yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah. It's changed again. You know, like back then it was a press kit in a folder with a CD demo. You know, now it's an EPK, an electronic press kit. Like nobody even like prints CDs anymore. So, but the mindset was there. And, yeah, it was that changed my life for sure. I think another big moment for me was when I met DJ AM. I was working at BPM Magazine. My boss at the time, Matt Cullen, he was, AM was coming into the office. And you can hear AM's voice, like such a deep voice. It's really recognizable. So I hear it, and I'm in my cubicle. So I was working for BPM Magazine as like a marketing assistant. And I hear it, and I'm like, oh my God, AM's here? Oh, like I just like was so excited. I wanted to meet him, and like he goes into my boss's office. So then I'm in front of the office, and I'm just like pacing back and forth, kind of just like dropping a piece of paper in front of the door, like, oh, and like back and forth until finally my boss noticed me, like, Tina, hey, come in. I want you to meet Ann. This is Adam. And I'm like, oh, hey. He's like, and my boss is like totally set me up. Like, he's like, Tina's a DJ. She's a great DJ too. And he's like, oh, really? So then AM booked me at Banana Split.
Yes.
And like we just developed, you know, he actually brought me onto Deckstar, his management company, and I met Steve Aoki at BPM Magazine through my boss, and would go to Steve's house and teach him scratches and stuff. And, you know, like those connections and that time changed everything for me as well. Meeting DJ AM changed it just like my mind was blown every time I watched him, and it was a constant source of inspiration.
Nice. And for the listeners who might not be familiar with who DJ AM is, explain who he is and why you love him so much.
He's just a dope DJ. I mean, he's just everything. Like you know, and he passed, you know, was it 2009?
Yes, unfortunately. Yes.
So we're, you know, talking about then, unfortunately, but he was doing mashups. He was scratching and cut over, you know, he was so creative. He did a ton of wordplay, and he was just doing things in a different way that I had ever really seen done before. The only DJ now that I could really like compare is maybe like Z-Trip, you know,
right.
A lot of mashups. He was famous for like his Wonderwall mix. And if you just go on YouTube and put in DJ AM and watch some of his videos, you'll understand. And there's actually also a documentary about him called The Life of DJ AM.
I believe so, yes.
And that's on iTunes. I still get emotional.
Yeah. Why do you love what you do?
I get to make people dance, and I get to, maybe it's a power trip. You know, I'm in control. I guess it's nice to feel like you're in control of something, and I go into a room and I'm able to control a crowd the way I want to. I can literally be like, those group of girls in the back, I'm going to play this for them. This group of dudes, this, you know, and there's some profiling. But the other thing I like about it too is it's never the same. Never. There's just never, you know, it's always like a little puzzle that you got to figure out, and it feels really good, and you don't always figure it out.
This is true.
And so things are always interesting, and, you know, like I love music, and I love playing it loud. I mean, emphasis. Even before that, like in my car, and, you know, my brother's putting in like bass. I just always loved like loud bass playing, and so it just feels good. Like the thing I hate the most is if I have to play quietly. If they're like, can you turn it down? People are trying to network and mingle. I'm like, this sucks. Like, I want to play, like, it's so much better, and I'm sure every DJ understands. When you're, like, on a loud, amazing sound system, it's just, like, the best feeling.
Agreed.
And I started out DJing, like, at raves, which had, you know, stacks on stacks on stacks of speakers, and so, yeah, it's fun.
Nice. And then on the flip side, what is something that scares you?
I'm scared of everything. No.
Well, give us an example.
Let's see. Okay. Keeping with the clubs, I'm scared that I'll be DJing and someone's going to come into the club and do a mass shooting. That's something I worry about. I'm also scared when I'm in a club, especially like in Vegas, where the DJ booth's like off in outer space and there's 3,000 people. I'm afraid there'll be a fire. I can't. Yeah. I'm dead. If there's a fire in some of these clubs, I have no way. And there's just, you know, stuff like that. But that doesn't, like, stop me from going to a club. It's just things I'm a little scared of. I'm scared of drowning, you know, typical things.
Yeah.
Spiders, tarantulas. What else? Yeah, you know, just those things. I don't have any major phobias. I think I'm just scared of being boring.
You're not boring, so don't worry about that. Now, the DJ space, very crowded. You know, both domestically, internationally, very crowded. How do you rise above all the noise and distinguish yourself from the competition?
I just do me.
Just T to T style.
Well, you know, I just try to, like, stick to, like, yeah, I think everyone naturally, if they really honed in on, like, doing what they do, we would naturally set ourselves apart. I think, though, that's sometimes hard as a DJ because I'm not playing for me, I'm playing for the crowd. So every DJ that's trying to make the crowd happy will, by default, end up playing a lot of the crowd-pleasing stuff. It's only when you get a gig where it's literally like, do you, like a showcase, like that kind of thing, you know, like a Red Bull 3 style or something where you're encouraged to go crazy. That's where I think I can set myself apart. Like those kinds of sets, I love, you know, I grew up in Seattle. I love grunge rock and Nirvana and Rage. Yeah. I love Rage Against the Machine and Metallica, and I like to, you know, I like to just do, when I'm given that green light to just be as weird as I possibly can, then that's what.
There it is.
But I don't always have that green light. So honestly, a lot of the time I'm a very just crowd-pleasing DJ, and I don't really always have the liberty to do me to the fullest because I'm a weirdo, and if I did that, I would scare everyone away. So, yeah. Cool. And I think, you know, honestly, I think what sets me apart as well is just like the beliefs that I have and the other things that I'm passionate about, and people care about that. I like to think they do. I hope
we do. Yeah. The fact that you started a DJ camp for kids and it's on its 10th year definitely set you apart. So we don't want to forget that. And there's plenty of other things we'll share as we continue to go on. Now, you spoke about Metallica. What did opening up for Metallica do for your career, and how was that experience?
Wow, that was the best. They're so good live, like unbelievable. Just It was literally probably the best gig I've ever had. Shout out to Activision for it. You know what impressed me about them is that they sat in separate running Escalades. We were outside of an airport hangar. They don't hang out together. So they're all sitting in separate Escalades. And they have their stuff down to the point where they're not there sound checking. All their techs have completely dialed in everything. So they have this like 3 minutes of ambient music where they're like, you know, it's all dark and they're going to go on stage, down to like 2 seconds. They get out of Escalades, run up on stage, grab their guitars, and just start.
Nice.
I was just really impressed by that. Wow. And then as soon as they got done, they just like ran off stage. Some of them got in private jets and like flew off separately, immediately.
Wow.
But you know, they've probably done like thousands in their career. That's just thousands of gigs. And if you get to that point, you're going to have it that dialed. And you're probably not going to want to hang out with each other either. I don't know. But they all signed a record for me. I have a collection of picture record covers, and I've got Metallica, and I've got, you know, Sir Mix-a-Lot, Maroon 5, Billy Idol.
Cool. Now, as you've gotten to be more successful, an internationally known DJ, lots of awards, accolades, you acquire more critics. How do you handle your critics or your haters, as we call them?
I agree with them.
Okay. And what do you mean when you say that?
When I was on the VH1 Master of the Mix and it was airing, obviously I'm on, back then Twitter was cool. And people actually talked to you on Twitter. So I'm on Twitter as it's airing, seeing people's live tweets. And I'd get tweets that are like, man, this DJ sucks. And I would just retweet and say, I know, she's the worst. And I just entertain myself by agreeing with people. Hey, you're a shitty DJ. You know what? You're right. I am. What are the, that's how I handle haters. I'm honestly really just impressed. To me, it's the greatest form of, what do you call it?
Flattery. Yes.
So I don't think you can really say you've reached a level of success until you do have haters.
There you go.
I'm not even mad at it. I'm just hate all you want. Appreciate you.
Love it.
So yeah, there was so much shit talking during the show because it's national TV that all I could really do to entertain myself was retweet it and agree and joke about it, because you can't take yourself too seriously, and I don't really have a crazy ego. So
good.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing. Tell us about the darkest time in your life, how you got through that, and what did you learn from that experience?
Well, I think I'm really lucky because all my immediate family is still with me, and that's definitely one of my other big fears because I feel like it'll just shake my whole world. So, my biggest, darkest times, how lame it sounds, is with dating relationships where I've had just really, when you're dating and something bad happens, cheating, walking in on, experienced it all. Yeah. It sucks to have to go to the club and try and not think about it. But that's where I'm really happy I'm a DJ, because it's impossible when I'm DJing to think about other stuff. The adrenaline takes over, and it's when I'm going through something really tough, I want to DJ and I want to stay busy. The more I'm DJing, the less I'm thinking about it. So yeah, DJing's definitely helped me get through some times. And I do, the silver lining of really bad times is that it's usually followed by something awesome, because you can only really go up. So I always have some bad breakup, and then usually I get booked for something awesome, and I'm like, sweet, on to the next one.
Yeah. Yeah, I can relate about how if you got stuff on your mind, relationships, and you go DJ, you kind of get lost in the music or whatever for at least 4 hours. Or 5 or 6 hours. So yeah.
And it's always been my number one rule, to never date anyone, well, one, anyone who's paying me, but two, anyone who works in the club, bartenders, security guards. No, because that, if you're trying to DJ and you got drama with someone in the club, good luck with that. That'll ruin my night,
Yes.
The club is my sacred, safe place. I'm not going to shit where I eat. And I want to be able to walk into the club and just be free and not think about those things. So yeah, I keep all that outside of the club.
Excellent advice. Excellent rules. Who was the most influential person for you growing up?
Well, I mean, obviously DJ AM was a huge influence.
Yeah.
And then as a kid, my dad. I'm really close with my parents, and they definitely don't agree with the things that I do at all. Nothing. They've just learned to accept it. But my dad and I don't agree on a lot of things. Even politics, we're just polar opposite. But I've learned by growing up that way, I've been able to talk and be friends with people from all walks of life. Whether we have the same beliefs or not, I can have a great conversation with someone that believes opposite things than me, and coming from a multicultural family, I was just able to travel a lot and learn from my parents. And yeah, I think, they hate that I foster, and they'll hate that I said that. But every time they get upset about me fostering, I say, the whole reason I foster is because you guys were such great parents, and I had such a good childhood that I just want to be able to give that to kids that don't have it. And they have nothing to say to that.
I would think
what
not.
Are you going to say to that? So, and it's true. I definitely had an awesome childhood, and these kids don't have that.
Right.
And I just want them to just, if I can give them a little bit of that, then I'll feel better.
Cool. What do you find easy to do that your friends find hard to do?
DJ?
Besides DJ. Funny.
What is easy? I don't know. I mean, I guess, like I take on projects, and when I set my mind to something, I just like go and go. So like with Camp Spinoff, here we are 10 years
10
later.
years later, yes.
And so like I'm really, really persistent, and I don't ever like consciously think about that being difficult. It's just something I do, but I think some people probably struggle with that.
Right. Now, when you were 21 years old, you were still at Pullman, correct? Washington State.
Yes.
We're going to go back and talk to 21-year-old Tina and give her some advice based on what you know now. What advice would you give your 21-year-old self?
I would tell myself to not stress about anything, because you're going to have like 15 more years of gigs. So if you lose this one gig or you burn this bridge or whatever, like just keep it moving, because you have like this long career ahead of you, and it's just going to keep getting better. There's one regret I have.
Okay, talk to us.
I try not to have regrets, but here's my one.
Okay.
I'm in college, small college town. There's 2 bars. And when you're in a small town, I'm sure other DJs know this, those 2 competing bars, it's not okay to play at the competition. You have to pick one or the other, because they're in direct competition. The club owners hate each other. And if they find out you're playing at the other one, you're going to be fired. So I was like, oh my God, I can't lose this gig. I don't want to get fired. So I was too afraid to try and DJ. But here's what I would have done. I would have gone back and told myself, here's what you do. You're going to dress up like a boy.
Okay, keep going.
You're going to dress up like a boy, and you're going to go do that other gig under a totally alter ego.
Oh.
Yeah, you're going to put on a hat and a sweatshirt, and you're just going to be like random DJ that nobody really like knows, and you're going to do both the gigs.
I love
and
that.
You're not going to be afraid of them finding out, because even if they find out, it's amazing, and
Yes.
you just pulled one on everyone, and it'll be great.
I love that.
And then I would have had a 10 times better story right now to tell you if I actually would have done that. But you know what? I was too afraid. I was too afraid of losing this stupid gig at a little local bar. But at that time, that was like my world.
Yeah.
But how awesome would that have been?
That would have been great.
And now it's too, I can't do it. It doesn't matter now.
The make-believe story is good too, but there's that fear coming back again. So yeah.
So like if anyone's, I encourage someone else to do this.
Yes.
Please live it out for me. Just like dress up as a totally different person and do a gig as a different DJ.
All right, yeah. I think we're going to send us the stories. If you do that, let us know. Send us some tweets or some Instagram posts or something.
Can you imagine the other club finding out and be like,
great.
Wait, hold on. Tina's playing for you as a boy?
That would be great. That would have been great.
And I'll just deny.
Let's go back in a time machine. How about that? What is the one lesson in life that took you the longest to learn?
Probably that, that if you do something for someone, you just can't expect anything in return. Because it really bothered me for a long time if I would like help someone out or get someone to do something for someone, and then like later if I needed something, they weren't. That bothered me. But now I've accepted that I can't do things expecting people to like want to return the favor. You just can't. It's not going to stop me from doing nice things, but I can't get upset when it doesn't come around, because that's just the way it is. Like you have to,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Interesting.
I've realized that recently.
Good.
And I have to kind of fight it, because it's still, I have to admit, it still like, irks you a little bit, but then I have to stop myself and be like, nope, that's just the way it is. Like that's just what. Just have to accept it.
No
It took me a
expectations.
long time though,
Yeah.
and I'm still kind of working on it. So.
Okay. No expectations. We'll see you there. All right.
Shout out to DJ
Michael
Basic. Since we're using his house.
Yes, for sure. Every great person has a sentence. What is your sentence? For example, my sentence is, I love to help people unlock their creativity by teaching them how to DJ. What is your sentence?
I'm just shooting right off the top of my head here. Life's short. Give to other people and leave the world a better place.
I love that sentence. Well done. Good. What is one new habit that you've added to your daily routine in the past year or so that has been most beneficial?
Your questions are hard.
They're good. We're getting to know Tina. I love this. We're getting to peek behind the curtain known as Tina T.
Well, my travel routine is definitely gets smarter and smarter.
Share some tips.
When Netflix started allowing you to download Netflix stuff onto your phone, changed the game.
Okay.
Because now I go into these long flights with like full seasons of things, and like, but I have like all kinds of travel tips.
Okay.
I could go on for days.
Give us like your top 2 right now.
Okay. If you have liquids, like small amounts of liquids, I use contact containers. You know those little containers you put your contacts in? Mm-hmm. Perfect. Not going to spill. I put different, just little eye cream or whatever in those. Those make great containers, and they definitely never leak. Another one. Well, I recently started traveling with this little lower lumbar pillow.
Okay, yeah.
Because on these international flights, I would start kind of just getting I'd go to a chiropractor, and they're like, well, I'm little, so in those big plane seats, I usually sit in crazy positions for long periods of time. I'll put my feet up and sit sideways and whatever, and that just messes you up. So now I travel with this little travel lumbar pillow, and I use a hook and hook it onto my backpack, and I feel all old, but
that's good.
It's great. It's definitely helped. So.
Good 2 tips for us. Thank you. Now, throughout your career, you've taken many, many risks. If you're going to think back to maybe the biggest risk you've taken, what comes to mind?
Getting licensed as a foster parent.
Okay.
Yeah. That's scary.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I'd have a kid standing over. Here's my fear. I was afraid I was going to wake up in the middle of the night with a kid standing over me with a knife.
Yeah. That's not going to happen.
No, I mean, no. And that was just the fear of the unknown really can get you, but.
Yeah, that might be the 4th fear. We were discussing fears earlier. I think that's the 4th most common fear is the fear of the unknown.
I don't believe yours, though. Can you tell them what they are? Because I don't believe this
You don't
at
believe
all.
mine? The fear of failure, the fear of loud noise, and the fear of success are the 3 most common fears in the world.
And what's your source?
I mean, I'll link you to the article, the book, everything. Scientists, I'm going to link it all.
It just sounds crazy to me. I don't know.
You'll see. I'll show you. I'm not making this up. This is not Amani's rule here.
I think a biggest risk too was definitely moving to LA.
Yeah.
But at that time, honestly, it wasn't a risk because I didn't have anything to lose. I just graduated college, packed my stuff up in my car. I didn't have a job yet, so it was I could either graduate college and go start applying for jobs like everyone else, or I could just move to LA, try to make it as a DJ, and if it didn't work out, then I'll get a job. So I really didn't have anything to lose.
And we're looking up, 14, 15, 16 years later. It worked out, I think, pretty well, I would think.
And, I cheated, and I looked at all your questions, and I'm just going to ask myself my own question. Because you asked what was a big failure. Tina, what's a big failure that ended up, turning into for the better for you? Okay, after college, I was working for Red Bull in college as a brand ambassador, something, I don't remember. And when I graduated, my dream job was to get a job for Red Bull, a marketing job for Red Bull at headquarters. So they're hiring. And they only interview 2 people, me and one other person. So I'm super nervous. I bombed the interview, as bad as it could possibly be. And I didn't get the job, and I was crushed because this is my dream job. I was only one of 2 people, and I bombed the interview. And I felt really bad, but if I did get that job, we wouldn't be here now.
We would not be
I'd
here.
be chained to a desk. Mm-hmm. And Red Bull's a great company, but I would have never pursued DJing professionally if I got that job.
Yeah. And everything happens as it should.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was DJing back then, and I think that he knew. And a part of me thinks maybe, he probably realized, this desk job is like not a good fit for you.
Not a good fit for you.
Yeah, so not getting that job was like the biggest blessing, because that would have changed my whole path.
Definitely. Now, we're really big, voracious readers here on the Amani Experience podcast. If there was 1, 2, or 3 books that you feel people should stop what they're doing right now and start to read them right away, what books would you recommend?
What's the name of this one?
Well, you can describe it to us. We'll help you find the name.
It's like called Controlling Chaos.
Okay. What's it about? Okay.
So it actually was a book I read when I first had the idea about Camp Spinoff. And I was like, oh my God, I have this idea, but I don't quite know how to organize it and build a brand. So it's a book about, in 2008, everything had crashed, right?
Yeah.
And that was a really scary time, and it was chaotic. It was basically saying, use this chaotic depression of what's happening to your advantage to build your brand. It was almost like the perfect book. Like, I'm trying to start this thing, and it just kind of outlined how you start a brand, and it helped you brainstorm ideas, and it worked me through the whole process of putting together this brand and starting this camp at a time where, everything was crashing.
Yeah. Okay. We'll link that in the show notes. Any other books come to mind? But that's a good one right there.
No, I'm spacing.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's good. All right, so we're almost done. So we're going to ask a couple more questions, and then we'll be on our way. First, before we get to the final questions, tell people how they can find you online and where they can also find information about Camp Spinoff.
Yes. So I'm easy. It's just DJ Tina T, all one word. Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter is all /DJ Tina T, or handle is DJ Tina T. And my website's djtinat.com. And Camp Spinoff is the same thing.
Yeah.
Because that's I mastermind.
Yes.
And Camp Spinoff locked in, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. It's all Camp Spinoff.
Yep.
And you can also go to campspinoff.com.
There we go. Cool. You're a Seattle Mariners fan. You are working on scoring a perfect game when you're watching them, so we're going to monitor that progress. But for this question, you're walking out onto Safeco Field. They've just announced a batter. You're coming up next to bat. What song is playing?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is T.I., Bring 'Em Out.
Okay. All right.
Bring 'em out, bring 'em
that's
out.
right. That's right. We're going to roll with that one.
Bring 'em out, bring 'em out, hey. Bring 'em out, bring 'em out. VIP, coming live from the VIP. Heard the nightlife, Rolls Life without me. Both dead in the state, wanna see my me. The whole city got pissed, heard he got 3. That other rapper got a hit, but shout he not out. Who set the city on fire soon as he got free? The king back now. Brawls don't even know how to act now. Hit the club, strippers getting naked before I sat down. Still ballin', money stacked tall and shack now. Still push a button and let the roof on the lag down. I'm on the
You know what's funny though is I totally am like the DJ at baseball games. I like every time they come up to bat, I like really pay attention to the song and think about it, because like some people are Latin, and like and same thing like when I was DJing on the Do Action Sports Tour and they would have BMX riders do their half pipe run, they also pick their song as well, and I just like to hear what songs people pick, and somewhere in the back of my mind too, because we all kind of end up with this situation at some point as a DJ. You're in a club and that person walks in.
Yes.
How cool is it if you could play the song that they go up to bat to? Like, I just like want that moment. So I pay attention. I don't really have anyone's memorized, but that's always fun. I feel like AM did that one time. Like, I can't remember who it was. It was like Mike Tyson or something.
Okay. I'm gonna knock you out or something like that. Yeah. Okay.
But
so
those little geeky that's the kind of stuff like I think DJs can geek out on when someone shows up.
So when I'm DJing at a club and Tina walks in, I'm playing Bring 'Em Out, Bring 'Em Out. Yes.
I mean, it's not my favorite song.
Understood.
It's just like a fitting song.
It's a walkout song.
It's not my favorite.
Definitely. If I was playing baseball, I might have like a slow jam one time just to troll the other team, just for fun. But that's okay. So we're almost done here. I want to take a moment to say thank you for spending some time with us. I really admire both your vision for Camp Spinoff and your DJ career. I think you're a visionary in the industry, and I'm really proud to have known you and worked with you. I think you're doing amazing work. You're a dope DJ. Don't sleep on the talent. Dope DJ. So I just want you to keep going, keep doing what you're doing, keep doing the camp. I'm glad to be a part of it, and just excited to see your progress and see you keep going. So keep it up. We let our guests leave the show with any last-minute words of wisdom. So I'll say thank you again and take us home.
Well, I mean, I guess just the last thing I want to leave with is I'm just big on female empowerment. And I'm so excited to see the way things are going, and even elections, like women are just killing it. And so I just think we're going in the right direction. I'm sorry if I'm leaving the guys out, but I'm just talking to the women. Like, we're in this together. Let's help each other, raise up and work together.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Amani Experience podcast. You can check out the show notes on amaniexperience.com/podcast. Feel free to email us at podcast@amaniexperience.com. Please remember to leave us a review on the platform you are listening on, and share this podcast with anyone you feel would benefit from listening. See you soon for our next episode.